This is a walk around video of my 1963 220 SE Mercedes-Benz W111 chassis code that's currently for sale. It is a engine swapped to a Mercedes om606 naturally aspirated diesel engine, and it has been turbocharged. It has airbag suspension all the way around with all four corner adjustment, but it's currently just set up to just to raise the front and raise the rear and lower. This video is for anybody that's looking at wanting to buy this car interstate and can't physically get out here to see it. So I just thought I'd bring it out and do a quick walk around. I've parked the worst side of the car body-wise in the sun here. This is the worst side of the car. It has probably the more extensive rust and dents and damage and stuff like that. Bearing in mind it's a 1963 car, so you're going to expect to obviously have that kind of condition, and it's never been restored as far as I know, and within my ownership or anything like that. But on the back here you've got a couple little dents and blemishes across the quarters. Got some really fine kind of rust bubbling up there. This door I would ideally replace. It's the worst of the rust all the way around, and you can see it here on the bottom, and then a bit of a closer look on the inside there, as best you can see. It's repairable, but it's probably easier just to replace the door. This door has been replaced, so it's a slightly different color. This being kind of the worst side, I always plan to kind of just respray the whole side anyway at some point if I wasn't going to respray the entire car. And then this front quarter has got a few little dents and scratches and stuff like that in it. The other side's much straighter, still has a little bit of rust bubbles coming through in certain areas, but nothing too crazy. Currently the air suspension is set at its highest setting. I've got 17-inch steel smoothies with these custom hubcaps that I made up on them to kind of make it look a bit factory, but I quite like the look of this. And then I'm running a larger profile tire in the rear than factory, just to kind of get highway RPMs down a little bit, being that this gearbox doesn't have an overdrive. So with the factory profile tire, it sits about 3,400 RPM at 100 kilometers per hour. With this larger profile in the rear, it actually sits pretty much at 3,000 RPM, which is just a bit more comfortable on the highway until, you know, I was going to put an overdrive gearbox in or change the diff ratio to a V8 one. On the rear here, you can see the chrome work. It's okay, like it's passable and everything like that, but it is obviously starting to blemish and get some surface rust and stuff like that. This rear lens isn't fantastic, but it might buff up okay. I always kind of like the rattiness of this car. I mean, it's not full rat rod, but I enjoyed it for that. The top's pretty good, the bonnet's pretty good. These are all original rubbers as far as I can tell, so they're quite cracked and they're okay, but at some point they'll need to be replaced, I guess. Now on this side, which, as I was saying, this is really the best side of the car. There's a little bit of a cracked Juco down the bottom here. Again, like over the arch here, there's just a tiny little bit of bubble of rust there you can see. Everything else is pretty good on this side. Down in this door, some really light bubbling there, but like nothing too insane. Across the roof here, there are some little flecks and little bubbles of rust coming through. It's kind of hard to find them actually at the moment, but here on this side. So you can see here, it looks like watermarks, but it's actually some sort of reaction, or it's got to be a little bit of rust that's coming through on the roof. So I just thought this thing would look pretty nice with a gloss black roof, so that was kind of the future plan for it. So same deal, just walking around the car, you know, it's all in presentable condition. I get a lot of comments when I'm driving it. People love it. The bonnet itself has got a few blemishes and stuff like that. Again, nothing too crazy. And then this front rubber looks like it's a bit newer. Looks like the front was done at some point. All the doors open and close as they should, window winders, all that kind of stuff. These are the original door cards that I only have 2 of. I've got a full set of 4 replacements in the darker brown door cards that are unmarked, that are in pretty good nick, that I was going to swap in here. This is the interior of the car. The seats are the same as the rear, which I'll get to. I've got sheepies over them at the moment, but they've got some tears in them. They're a bit stained up, so the sheepies are just put on to make it look a bit tidier. The clock doesn't currently work, but you know, factory ashtray. factory glove box. This isn't the original books. These are books that I picked up off somebody else from a 220, but I just like them because they, you know, add a little bit of nostalgia to the car itself, basically. But yeah, you can get a general idea of the condition. This is my little GPS solar powered speedo, so this will give you a good reading for speed. It does lag a little bit, so when you're doing some faster launches and stuff like that in the car, it won't keep up as fast getting up to speed, but it's good enough for when you're cruising. You just want to know what speed you're doing. This is the back seat, back doors. Again, like the carpet kit's pretty crappy, so a carpet kit wouldn't go astray. The headlining's pretty good, a few little rips and tears and stuff like that in it. Nothing too outrageous. Again, it's all passable for a daily driver. The rear parcel shelf could be redone. Interesting enough, retractable rear seats, whereas the front seats are your standard lap sash kind of buckle, so that's interesting. As with all 111s, you've got, this is your rear fuel up. I swapped the petrol cap out for an oil cap because I just thought it was funny being that it's a diesel now, and I use that little spanner just to pin it open, which works quite well. All doors open and close as they should. Now I've got a little bag with most of the bits for these doors, the little chrome works and stuff, but it will be missing probably a couple of things, I would imagine. I'll pop the hood to show you inside there. The hood also doesn't sit level at the moment. It was fine when I pulled it off, but when I put it back on, it's got some sort of alignment issue here where these bolts just need to be mucked around with a bit better to get this back section sitting down flush. It sat flush before I did the engine swap, so I got no reason to think that it won't do that again, but I just never bothered with it. And I also did think that maybe these little buckles here would be pretty good. So, you know, the old school racer kind of buckles there. But this is the engine. This is the om606, so this is a naturally aspirated om606. It came out of a 1994 E300 diesel. It had done 300,000 Ks and it had been rear-ended, so the engine was fine. It's the original gearbox that came with this engine as well, which is a 722.4 4-speed automatic. And this is all mechanical, so it's a mechanical fuel pump. The only electronics that go into this car to start it are the glow plug relay, which you'll see on the side here. So the accessories turns glow plugs on, and then this is your vacuum shut off and the starter motor itself. If once it's started without any electronics, it'll just happily run along. It's manual steering, no aircon or anything like that. And then it's got a turbo conversion. So this is a steam, just a steam pipe turbo manifold for it. The exhaust is, you know, it needs to be redone with some flex pipes and stuff like that. Really, it's fine for what it is now. It was all just about kind of getting the car moving for me. And this is just a cheap Chinese turbo that it's a TO3 from memory, and the AR ratio was kind of what the turbo, close to the factory turbo specs. It's all right, like it's running 15 pound at the moment. There is no intercooler just yet. I've got an intercooler to go with it, which can, you know, sit at the front here. And this is just a thermo fan. The car runs like a really good temperature anyway, but if you're stuck in traffic, because the engine fan's been deleted, and you do need to cool it down a bit if you're watching it, you can just override and flick that little switch to fire off just that little thermo on. I've got a second thermo to go into it as well, and I've pre-wired for one, and I was going to move this down to the corner and put another thermo there, but I was waiting to kind of put my intercooler in first to see how much space was there and all that kind of stuff as well. It's been adequate, like it's never overheated on hot days. And I mean, I'm in Brisbane, and you know, sitting in a drive-through at you know, 33 degrees, 34 degrees, waiting for a drink or whatever, it's always, yeah, it's been totally fine. The heater core is all blocked off, so the heater core is not running through the car at the moment. Again, it's Brisbane, I've never really needed it. This heater core does leak, but I think it's just from the rubbers because it didn't with the original engine, so I dare say it's just the rubber coupler going into it. I don't think it's the core at all. The air suspension is on its highest setting at the moment. Like I said, it's got individual valve block for it, so you can wire it up to do all four corners. Then under here, I just kind of hung this little section. I wanted to keep the air suspension pretty hidden. So I've just got a compressor on and off. So when that flicks on, the compressor will run on its pressure switch. And then this is for your thermo fan I was just talking about. And then I've just wired the front and the rears together so they all do the same thing. I'll air it out so you can check it out on the ground. So this is it aired out. You can't drive at this height because of the higher profile tyre in the rear. And obviously it's hugging and it's sitting really low. So the rear tyres will rub against the upper fender. Not that you kind of want to run this low anyway to drive it. I normally drive it at pretty much full height. And then at full height it's quite stiff, so it's good for country roads and all that kind of stuff. But when you air it out a little bit, and you can make the ride a bit more comfortable as well, which is a bit nice. In the boot here is the air suspension setup. Now it's a bit rough and prototyped and all that kind of stuff, but basically this valve block is good. It's an electronic valve block, and it'll do each corner, and it's all set up to do each corner. You've just got to wire in to have 4-corner independent control. The compressor is a Thor TH4 T444HO, T444HO. These are the specs of it. It's a good compressor. It's fast. It can go up to 200 psi. I've only got one of these tanks on at the moment. This compressor isn't doing anything. It's just there to stop air leaking out. And then I've only got this one tank's running. I think it's a 6-litre tank from memory. So a couple of fittings just to kind of link it together to the other tank will just give you a bit more air capacity. The compressor's probably fast enough where it doesn't really matter that much, but yeah, having 2 of them was better, and the plan was to kind of tidy all this up a bit better and get it there. Battery is in the boot now, relocated back with some pretty decent cabling, so I've had no issues with that. And then underneath the boot floor here, it's a bit dirty, but nothing outrageous going on under there. So I'll fire up the car so you can see it idling. So nothing special, it just key starts like any other car. And then this is your vacuum shut off. So the accessory has to be on to give power to the vacuum shut off valve, and then you just press this little squeegee in and you hold it and it'll shut down, and then turn the ignition off and pull the key out. This is the engine idling. Idles nice and smooth. I'm pretty sure I've got 2 glow plugs that are currently out in it. Again, it doesn't really bother me too much because I'm in Brisbane, so it doesn't really give me a hard start. But in the winter, you know, for the first 20 or 30 seconds, it might run a little bit rough, and then it clears itself up and it's fine. So that's about it. That's about all I can really think of for the car. Any questions? Yeah, just let me know.